Hey everyone, this is a dialogue, and hey, I'd just like to say thanks to the Patreon subscriber who put this video forward for me to have a look at. And this is the mistress of Lyndon B Johnson, the US president after Kennedy, who she believes that she had a child with him. So she was his mistress, and that she's also revealing a few secrets about him, including the fact or opinion that Lyndon Johnson was also involved in President Kennedy's assassination. Let's have a look at her body language and just look at her overall demeanor and psyche to see where she's coming from.
So quiet. Well, the whole town was so quiet then because we're talking about 1948.
When you first met him, Lyndon, in 48?
48.
So you met Lyndon off and on for several years. When did you find out the magic thing that you were carrying his child?
Well, that does bring tears. And of course, I was smart enough to know it could happen, but I was hoping against hope it didn't
Right,
happen. You know?
never happens to me. Right.
So when I went to the doctor and he said, "I hate to tell you, but you're pregnant." Oh, it was raining that day, and the rain against the windows, and I thought, this is the end for me. I know, you know.
So I've seen another video of her talking about the same thing, where she's pregnant and it's raining outside. Now I'm looking at her overall demeanor. She seems pretty congruent. She is moving around in her seat, but then again, she's in a wheelie chair. Everyone moves around in a wheelie chair. So she's pretty congruent.
I knew I first had to tell my parents, and after that, but here George, I called him George, was sitting and he
Your
was
father.
reading the paper.
Do you know that there's not overly soothing herself, and she's not touching her hair, and her facial expressions are pretty congruent?
I just blurted it out. I said, "George, I got to tell you something. I'm pregnant." Well, it just rocked the house, you could tell, you know, and I said, "He's a married man," and that made it worse. So he got up from
So pretty congruent. Her head's nodding in the right places.
the chair, and he took his handkerchief and he went to blotting tears, and I was crying, you know, and Mother wasn't in there at that point. So he said, "Well, we'll work it out." And I thought, how can you work out something, you know, like this? Well, it still wasn't worked out, you know. I had to tell Linda.
You can't undo something
You
like
can't
that.
do it. So anyway, Jess Kellum called me.
So she is a bit nervous about talking about it and remembering what she's going through. One thing I'll say is that she's quite an intelligent woman, so she knows a lot of things, and she's got a very good memory for her age at that point. This is 1997.
He was the one. So when I get to the Driscoll Hotel, and I go upstairs, and when Lyndon walked in, I went to crying. He said, "Oh, you've missed me." I said, "Yes, I have missed you, you know." So he said, "Well, what's so wrong?"
And notice that she's picking herself because she's basically soothing herself, looking down, going into memory.
And then I blurted out that I was pregnant, and he had a fit, and then I was more frightened, you know. Well, he took a lamp and crashed it. It was really an ugly experience. So finally, when he calmed down a little bit, he said, "Well, it takes two to tango." And I was relieved. I was really relieved that he said that. He told me that there would be an attorney in Dallas, Jerome Ragsdale, that would take care
Even though she's looking down, she's actually going into memory.
of everything. And he said, if this leaks out, I've just got over this Box 13 scandal. He said, and I'm not going to let this destroy my political career.
So I'm not sure what Box 13 scandal is, but apparently it was enough for him to be indicted. The scandal's pretty bad. I think he was involved in 2 different scandals. And if President Kennedy had not died, he would have been indicted. Instead, he took over the presidency.
Okay, now somewhere in here I think we need to tell people, because I found this, well, as a woman, I find this an interesting part of the story. You really never considered having an abortion.
Not me. He did. He wanted, at first he said, you can have an abortion. And because of my religious beliefs,
You're
I
a
couldn't
good
do it.
Catholic girl, right?
What was the price of a contract in those days?
Well, to get someone just beat up real good, $10, $15. If you wanted someone, serious, if you wanted someone to, say, just expire, that cost you $100 at least.
Well,
So everything had its price.
It had its price, but no one bothered anyone. I mean, everyone knew where certain things, the mob, the mafia, but no one bothered.
they just went about their business.
Yeah, minded their own business. We know better.
So she was involved with the mafia, not directly, but she knew them through Lyndon.
Knew better.
Yeah.
How long did Stephen live, and when did he find out who his father was?
He found out in the middle 70s, really, is when our money stopped support coming in, and I'd had a heart attack. He died when he was 39 of lymphatic cancer. And researching all of this, it was the same type of cancer that Lyndon's mother, Rebecca, had.
And his sister?
And I'm not sure what Rebecca had.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to flit over to another part of her interview.
Did you, Madeline, have any encounters with LBJ either immediately before or immediately following the assassination of
Yes, the
Kennedy?
morning of the assassination, he was angry, but he was always angry when Ralph Yarborough and John Connally, there was a political feud going on.
Senator
in
Yarborough
Dallas.
of Texas, Governor John Connally of Texas at the time.
He and I had planned a meeting that night in Austin. We were going to the big fundraiser. And he said, well, after today, the blank Kennedys would never embarrass him again. That was no threat. That was a promise. And I kind of laughed it off. I said, oh, after the rendezvous, everything's going to be great. Well, Jess Kellum had called me also, and he was telling me
Hatchet
that,
man?
Yeah, the hatchet man. And I said, oh, Jess, he'll be okay. He's just mad. You know, everything's going to be all right.
Why was he so mad at
The
JFK?
Kennedys were always putting him down and calling him the country bumpkin, and he just didn't like it. They were a stumbling block in his way politically.
When he said that to you, did you take it seriously?
Not at that second.
So one thing I'll say for her is that she has great eye contact. She's straight. She talks directly at him. She's not flitting around. And she's very confident with her voice. So at the moment, I actually believe everything she says.
Just thought he was mad.
Did you talk to him at all after the tragedy, after
Oh,
the
yes.
horrible
I
crime?
met him. I met him in Austin on New Year's Eve. I was real concerned about it because everyone in Dallas was talking about he was responsible for the assassination. So I said to him, Lyndon, I said, you had already told me that after that day, the Kennedys wouldn't embarrass you again. Then Jack Ruby had come out openly and said that Lyndon Johnson was the cause of it. In my mind, I've got to put things to rest. And he had a temper fit. He blew up and just screamed and hollered, and then he calmed down, and he turned around and he said...
Now, she's displeased with what she's remembering. That's why she stuck her tongue out and sort of licked her lips and then pulled her lips together, pursed them. So she's displeased with what happened.
At that time, it was the oil people I knew and the CIA.
Wait, are you saying that Lyndon Johnson,
Do you see the chin? So she raised her chin. She's actually quite confident with what she's saying.
was he now President of the United States?
Yes.
And a little bit insecure because she took a deep breath and a bit of a swallow.
Said to you personally,
Yes.
you swear this,
Swear.
that the oil people and the CIA were involved in the murder of John Kennedy?
Yes.
And she's very firm. There's no hesitation. It's straight out. So to me, she's congruent.
Was it just the two of you alone?
Yes.
You sure it's not that the passage of years have made your
No.
memory foggy?
No.
You're not embellishing this tale, man.
No.
You sit here today and you claim that LBJ said that
Okay, so there's no duping delight. There's nothing in her face. No little tics. No shrugging of the shoulders. No head swipes. That tells me that she's hiding stuff.
CIA
Scouts on her.
killed the president.
Right.
Do you believe that your former paramour, Lyndon Johnson, had anything at all to do with the death of John Kennedy?
No, I did not have anything.
Do you believe that he had anything to do with it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes.
As you sit there today, you do?
Yes.
Did you know what he was talking about?
I knew the people that he named, yes, I certainly did. H.L. Hunt was a very dear friend of mine, and 3 days prior to the assassination, H.L. Hunt gave me one of the wanted for treason pamphlets, and they just bombarded Dallas with it. And
Wanted for treason, JFK.
Uh-huh.
They thought that the liberal president was a treasonous man,
Right.
selling the country down the river.
So I said, H.L., you cannot do the President of the United States that way. And he said, well, hell, I can. I'm the richest man in the world. I can do whatever I want to. But Dallas, Texas was bombarded, and he passed them out personally.
Did you meet Jack Ruby Hunter?
Lyndon Johnson's attorney introduced me to him.
Go on.
I'm serious.
Where?
I was coming out of Neiman Marcus, and happened, of course, I knew the attorney, and he was standing.
So even though she did a head swipe, it doesn't mean to say that it didn't happen. It means that she's displeased with it. Well, it's a critical yes.
And then talking to Jack Ruby, and he says, I want you to meet Jack Ruby. And I
Wait a second. When was this?
1952, I think, way back.
10 years before the assassination?
Oh, yeah.
So Lyndon Johnson's attorney, which one?
Jerome Ragsdale.
The same guy who wrote you the letter
Yes.
after LBJ died and said that the financial arrangements would be continued. He was standing with Jack Ruby, you say?
Yes.
Did you ever tell any of the authorities this?
Yes.
Who'd you tell?
Well, not the Warren Commission. They didn't talk to me.
They didn't ask you
No.
to...
President Kennedy, after the Bay of Pigs, fired Allen Dulles as director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Dulles hated Kennedy. His whole career was ruined by Kennedy, and he got to be named one of the 7 Warren Commission members. He certainly had an axe to grind.
That's interesting.
On the eve of Kennedy's assassination, she attended a party at this house in North Dallas, the family home of oil billionaire Clint Murchison Sr. There was an extraordinary guest list that night.
We had H.L. Hunt, Murchison, Lyndon Johnson made an appearance. We had Hoover, we had Richard Nixon. They were the most influential people there. When Lyndon came in, no one was expecting him. So when Lyndon arrived at Clint Murchison's, they all went into a conference room, and you could just feel the atmosphere.
I've often wondered if were they involved because of the fear or, you know.
Maybe guilt or fear.
Or probably fear in most cases.
Yeah. Let's talk about the next day in Dallas. Where were you at the time
Of the assassination?
assassination?
I packed my car to go to Austin for the big fundraiser, and they were having a meeting of the Democrats down the old Red Courthouse, and they were fussing. Some of them were highly disenchanted about John Kennedy coming to Texas. I was lighthearted, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm going on to Austin. I'll see you guys in Austin." It's about maybe 10 minutes or less trip from the Red Courthouse, and as I walked in the door, they were already on the television that he had been shot. Jess, and I said, "What is going on?" First, I called Lou Sterrett at downtown, and I said, "My God, what has happened, Lou?" And he said, "Well, they just shot that SOB." And maybe Lyndon. Well, when Lou told me it was Lyndon, of course, it was very upsetting, and I didn't live all that far from the where I had my hair fixed. He even said that he was sure he had passed away, or was.
You thought he was talking about Johnson?
Yeah, but I had already verified that it was not Lyndon. Okay. It was John Conley.
And Kennedy. Let's go back to the night before when Johnson came out of the meeting. What did he say to you?
He was so angry. He had a violent temper when he was upset.
Well, let's use the exact words.
Notice her arms. She's folding her arms there.
What he said to you. What did he say to you?
He grabbed me by the arm, and he had this deep voice, and he said, "After tomorrow, those SOBs will never embarrass me again. That's no threat. That's a promise." And it startled me, really, because he was so ruddy-faced, and I thought, oh, well, he really, something went on that shouldn't have gone on,
And so she's in memory when she looks to her left.
As I was going downtown,
right,
and hear this screaming voice of his. He was so irate, and he didn't give me time to talk to him.
What were the words he said to you over the phone?
That they would never embarrass him again. That SOB, the Irish Mafia, I think. He referred to him as the Irish Mafia very often.
So obviously Johnson hated Kennedy.
He said they would never embarrass him again.
I'd never embarrass him again. There was no threat. That was a promise.
Mm.
And there were violent feelings that have never been told that was between those two people.
Johnson's face, what's your impression?
His face is snarling.
Yeah.
And John Conley is so worried or concerned. And after Air Force One got to Love Field, you see John Conley coming down. Everyone was full of glee, and John Conley has this faraway look.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to discuss?
So again, she's pretty congruent. There's just nothing that I'm finding that makes me think that she's lying here. So that's disturbing to think that she could be telling the truth here. See, this is the thing. I was wondering why she's coming out with all this information, and then I realized it's because her son died of leukemia, but he tried to sue the estate for a portion of the $10 million that Johnson had, but the lawyers wouldn't allow that to happen. I think he died before that. And if you look at her, she's feeling vulnerable. That's why she's touching her neck. Thanks very much for listening to this tape. Lyndon B Johnson. I hope you got what you wanted out of it. Thanks for my patron for his suggestion.